Truth Nation, let us talk our ish for a moment. There is no other station in the country where you get a front row seat to hear from some of the biggest names in politics, pop culture, and sports. People like Grammy Award winner John Legend.
Knowing that fight isn't over, knowing that we've got to stay motivated and stay inspired. Glory was the song that myself and Common wrote. Two brothers from the Midwest, from Chicago and from Springfield, Ohio.
Oscar Award winning actor Don Cheadle.
I know that we're the bright, shiny thing that sometimes gets the attention, but I would say don't listen to celebrities. You don't have to listen to us. Listen to yourself.
And President Donald Trump's son, Don Jr.
When did we have a strong economy? And I don't think anyone with a straight face can say right now. And the reality, when you look at it, it's not even voting for my father. Look at the team that's now surrounding him.
Tap into the award-winning and nationally recognized 1017 The Truth by downloading the Truth app and streaming us live at 1017 The Truth on YouTube. Milwaukee Black Talk. Breaking news, weather, entertainment, and sports. We have it all here. This is 1017 FM, 1510 AM WGKB Waukesha and W269DL Milwaukee, a locally owned Good Karma brand station.
It's time! It's time! It's Beta time!
You are watching a master at work.
Truth Nation, get ready for the greatest 60 minutes in radio, giving you his authentic and bold opinions, bringing you all the information, entertainment, and conversations you gotta hear. From local issues to trending topics and headline news, it is time for Truth to Power with Kyle Wallace on the award-winning 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, 1017thetruth.com, and streaming live on YouTube. Now, live from the American Family Insurance Studio at The Avenue in the heart of downtown Milwaukee, here is your award-winning host, Kyle Wallace.
Truth to Power here on the award-winning 1017 The Truth. I'm your host of Truth to Power, Kyle Wallace, and I'm coming to you live from the American Family Insurance Studio at the La Casa here on 1017 The Truth. You can always call in and text in by dialing in at 833-212-1017. You can also watch and stream us live by going to 1017 The Truth on YouTube. That is 1017 The Truth on YouTube. Shout out to Rhea Riley holding it down on the ones and the twos.
What up, y'all?
I gave her a little bit. She might be she probably a little bit delayed in my ear. But yeah, what up, Rhea? What up? Thank you. Yeah, I was a little bit delayed because, I'm the type of person, and Rhea knows this, is I don't get fixated on stuff, but I would say I could be a little reactionary. What do you say, Rhea?
Yeah, 1,000%.
Yeah, and so, your boy got a parking ticket, and I had a good case. I had a really good case because they messed up. They wrote the ticket wrong, and they messed up, so I said, oop, gotcha. And I fought it, and they said that I lost the appeal. And I said, how is that possible? So, I asked the lady all the questions. I said, well, what about this? And what about that? And I said, now, what was that address that you said it was on? I was like, oh, okay. So the parking checker put the wrong address on the ticket. So y'all messed up. So, yeah, so I was all distracted by that because I got the email like 12:30, Rhea, and I called him at 12:40. And it was,
wow,
it caught my attention. Really caught. Yeah, I was locked in. I was talking to the lady. She was very nice. Shout out to the parking folks. She was very, very nice and told me what I need to do. So I'll be heading over to Tatonia probably after the show today to go ahead and get my appeal schedule. I don't go down without a fight. It's only $30. Is it really worth my time, Rhea?
No, just pay the $30.
No, it's the principle. It's the principle. I get it. Listen. If it's the principle of the fact of the matter, you got to get your job done right. You messed up, but maybe I should be better. Maybe I should just learn my lesson. Who knows? But again, 833-212-1017 1017, and we're going to just jump right into it now off the top, because today, Truth Nation, I need to talk about hypocrisy. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about hypocrites. We all hate a hypocrite, but a lot of times when you look in the mirror, you're looking at a hypocrite. So let's get to that off the top.
Woke up this morning, you got yourself.
Y'all know what time it is. It's time for Off the Top on Truth to Power. Kyle, let Truth Nation know what you got to get off your chest today.
So, Truth Nation, I talked about hypocrisy and being a hypocrite. And listen, don't feel offended that I said when you look in the mirror, you may be looking at a hypocrite. Because listen, I look in the mirror and sometimes I see a hypocrite. I think being a hypocrite is absolutely inevitable because we all have a little bit of hypocrisy in us. We've all been a hypocrite at some point of time in our life. That's just what being a human is. We are imperfect. We say things sometimes and do another. We can't be perfect individuals, and aiming to be perfect from day to day is almost impossible. It literally is impossible. But one thing that I'll say about this is that we can always aim to not be liars, not be cheaters, and not be deceivers, right? That is something that is optional and is a choice. So I may not be able to practice what I preach 100% of the time, but I think I do it at a 75% clip, and I think that's pretty good. But again, we all are going to be a hypocrite at some point in our life. But when I think about what you can avoid not to do, not being a liar, not being a cheater, and not being a deceiver, a lot of that is a choice. And I believe that those who body that type of characteristics of lying, cheating, deceivers, you are extremely flawed individuals. Now, unfortunately for us, some of those people who are really, really good and excel at lying and deceiving are people who happen to accelerate their careers, climb up higher. We call them climbers, the people who rise up in life. Those are the type of people who are fast risers, some people who are good at lying and deceiving. And many of those risers end up in politics, where the person who can be put in front of the biggest crowd and the person that could put up the biggest front can win the race. And again, that is something that we see with a lot of politicians, is that they are the biggest liars, biggest cheaters, biggest deceivers, and also the people who could put on the biggest front in order to win people's appeal, or win the appeal of the people. I don't know if that's right. But again, it is inevitable for us to be perfect. I understand that, right? And through the lack of perfection, we all say something but do another. That's just what we are, right? And for me, my biggest issue comes when in politics where these folks blatantly lie. They blatantly lie. And for me, I was doing some scrolling and reading of some articles. I do a lot of scrolling of the social medias. I do the scrolling of the Instagram, scrolling of the Facebook, scrolling of the Twitter X. And also I read a lot of articles. I'm on Fox News. I'm on CNN. I'm on MSNBC or NBCnews.com as it is. I'm on JS Online. I'm on Urban Milwaukee. I'm looking up all the different things. I'm looking up articles from across the country because I always want to take in information. And so through my social media, there was something that I recently came across. I found a common theme, right? I found a common theme that talked about, or really displayed to me, that there were so many deceitful individuals that were elected officials. There were so many people that blatantly lie who are elected officials. There are so many people who were hypocrites that are elected officials, that these individuals were supposed to hold to these high standards because they represent a large voting block of the population across this state, across this country, right? When we think about Gwen Moore, who is the U.S. representative that represents in the state of Wisconsin, their decisions, their has impact on what happens here in the state of Wisconsin. And so, overall, when I look at hypocrisy, I always remember that a lot of people who are in power, they also have skeletons, and they also have issues, and they also have things that we should look at. they will say whatever they need to say in order to be in power or in order to be elected. And so with that being said, I want to talk a little bit about the fact that when I was scrolling through and listening to some of these articles and watching some of these news articles, I really felt like there was a lot of people blatantly lying in politics that I wanted to discuss and talk about. And my goal for you, Truth Nation, by the end of the day, my goal is to have us be very, very weary of politicians and not just to listen to what they say, but pay attention to what they do. What they do will always show you who they are, and because of, we always know, actions speak louder than words. With that all being said, I'm planning on introducing y'all to 4 politicians whose actions spoke louder than words. So we come south. We're going to travel down to Oklahoma, and we are going to talk about politicians that actions spoke louder than their words. The Truth of Power, the award-winning 107, The Truth.
More of Truth to Power is next on 1017 The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
Milwaukee, it's time to turn the TV off and turn your speakers up so you can hear what the future leaders of the world have to say. Truth Nation, I'm proud to present the 8 Block, powered by City on the Hill and 1017 The Truth, hosted by me, your boy, Ben Jammin. Every other Saturday at 9 a.m., 8 Milwaukee teams will share stories and laughs that will speak truth to what matters most in their lives.
I'm here to discover different levels about myself.
I'm really here to get my name out there and have a different perspective on life.
So tap in every other Saturday at 9 a.m. Truth Nation, welcome to the 8 Block.
Escape the city and relax at Lake Lawn Resort in beautiful Delavan, Wisconsin. Enjoy outdoor activities on Delavan Lake. Tee off at the lakeside Majestic Oaks Golf Course or unwind at the award-winning Calidora Spa. With both indoor and outdoor pools, there's fun for the whole family. Take a cruise on the Lake Lawn Queen. Explore stunning shores and historic landmarks. And enjoy delicious food and drinks on board. Book your stay today at lakelawnresort.com, where everything is better at the lake.
This summer, make 3rd Street Market Hall your one-stop, must-stop destination to eat, drink, and play. 3rd Street Market Hall has over 15 locally owned food vendors, a self-serve beer wall featuring 30 Wisconsin breweries, over 50 HD TVs, and happy hour specials all week. The perfect place to work remotely or catch a game between meetings or over lunch, 3rd Street Market Hall is your home away from home or office. Visit 3rdstreetmarkethall.com for menus, events, and more information.
Why did Old National Bank decide to create this program?
You know, it was something that was near and dear to the heart of our chairman and CEO, Jim Bryant. Jim wanted us to do more in the African-American communities, more with minority-owned businesses. So he approached Roland Shelton, who was my boss in Evansville, Indiana, and said, Roland, we need to do more. We need to create a program that's going to allow individuals, minority-owned businesses, women-owned businesses to access capital a lot better than traditionally we've been doing. And so we created the Empowerment Loan Program 2 years ago.
And for those that are now leaning more into this conversation, what's the best way to get in contact with you as part of their interest in the Empowerment Loan Program?
I'm going to give you my cell phone number to the listeners. It's 414-687-7393. And if that doesn't work, feel free to reach me at my email, tracy.meeks@oldnational.com.
Tracy Meeks, Senior Vice President, Community Lending Market Executive from Old National Bank.
This is Truth to Power on 1017 The Truth app, and streaming live on 1017 The Truth on YouTube.
Truth to Power here on the award-winning 1017 The Truth. Sorry about the technical difficulties, but we believe we got it figured out. But before we continue on, make game day a dream day for the whole family at the parking lot patio during Kids Day with American Family Insurance. The Brewers are hot, hot, hot right now, and they are the hottest ticket in town. And if you wanted to go to the game, you want to make it a full family experience, well, you can go on down to the parking lot patio, sponsored and presented by American Family Insurance. Listen up. Before first pitch, you can head to the clock tower entrance outside of American Family Field and let the fun begin and watch it begin, as you can have free face painting for the kids, temporary tattoos for the kids and adults, photo ops, yard games, free giveaways, live music, and so much more. I'm telling y'all, it is a perfect way to tailgate with the whole family. So come early and have fun and make it a day to remember, all thanks to American Family Insurance. And you're looking for a new agent for car insurance or for homeowners insurance, simply go to amfam.com to get a quote instantly today, or find an agent near you by going to amfam.com. This is Truth to Power here on the award-winning 1017 The Truth. Apologize for the technical difficulties on the other side of break. Seems like we got it all cleared up here. Before that, I was talking about the hypocrisy, right? The hypocrisy that we see through our elected officials across this country. And me being a person who loves to consume information, I mean, even when I go to bed at night, I need to fix this, but I'm like scrolling through to see any and all information that I can take in. And as I was scrolling through, I saw a weird trend. I saw a trend that I really didn't like, but I saw a trend that is unfortunately the reality of so many elected officials on both sides. And so the first thing that I saw is it happened down in Oklahoma, right? So I'm going to take y'all down to Oklahoma as we talk about these politicians, right? These politicians whose actions speak louder than their words, right? The politicians that say one thing that do another. The politicians that have a golden standard for everybody else, but when it comes to themselves, they do what they want behind closed doors. And sometimes not behind closed doors. So again, I'm going to take y'all to Oklahoma, to Panhandle State, where there's a guy named Ryan Walters. Now, Ryan Walters, I met him during the RNC last year. And also, I got an email from Ryan Walters' team asking, do you want Ryan Walters to join you on The Truth during the RNC? Now, all the folks on The Truth who were hosts at the time said, no, thank you. We have no interest. Nobody knows who this guy is. Now, I'm going to tell y'all who Ryan Walters is. Ryan Walters is a Bible-thumping MAGA state school superintendent. So when I say state school superintendent, Tony Evers, current governor, used to be the state superintendent. Jill Underly, current state superintendent here in the state of Wisconsin. Their job is to oversee the schools in the state of Wisconsin. And Ryan Walters, his job is to oversee the schools in the state of Oklahoma. Now, what y'all have to understand is Walters has a huge task. We may complain here about the state of education in Wisconsin, but Wisconsin is ranked pretty high for education. Milwaukee has its issues, but Milwaukee is doing better than Oklahoma because Oklahoma as a state, their school system has the lowest reading and math test scores for 4th graders and 8th graders in the entire country. In the entire country, they are ranked 50th out of all states when it comes to reading and math scores for the 4th graders and 8th graders. That's the state. That's not just the city, right? That is the state. And overall, Oklahoma is ranked 50th for total education. So to be frank and be honest, these folks down in Oklahoma, they kids are struggling. Them kids is, I ain't gonna be mean. I was gonna say something, but I gotta be nice because it's kids. Let's just say they have some academic deficiencies, right? They have some educational problems and struggles down there in Oklahoma when it comes to their students. So if you are ranked 50th in the state for your students when it comes to reading, and it comes to math, and it comes for overall education, you would think the focus would be math and arithmetic. You would think the focus for them poor Southern kids would be trying to make sure they can read the books better. Nope. And not if your name is Ryan Walters. Now, Ryan Walters decided he wanted to make the kids love America, right? That was his thing. Not reading, not math, not science, but he thought that the most important thing for these kids who already can't read down in Oklahoma, he thought the most important thing he can do is make those kids love America. And so what he decided to do is he created an America First assessment for teachers. So teachers had to take an American First assessment in order to be a teacher. Now, also, in addition to that, he said that they need to collect immigration status of students. He also created American Exceptionalist curriculum. In addition to that, he made students, were part of that curriculum, he made teachers teach about how the 2020 election was stolen from Donald Trump. Yes, you heard that right. He is making kids down in Oklahoma who can't read, who can barely write, who don't know science, who don't know math. He's making those kids learn about the 2020 election being stolen from Donald Trump, and he also is making them remove anything related to Black Lives Matter content, specifically when it comes to George Floyd. Now, again, you can't make this stuff up. You have the state superintendent of schools in the dumbest state in the country Instead of focusing on math and reading, he's focusing on American exceptionalism curriculum that teaches students about the 2020 election being stolen from Donald Trump and tells them that they cannot talk about the George Floyd death. He is mandating all public schools to also have a Bible in every classroom, and the Bible, peep this, has to be a Trump-sponsored Bible. So every classroom in the state of the state of Oklahoma needs to have a Bible in it. Now, again, I'm glad I don't live in Texas. Oklahoma, and I never live in Oklahoma. Never plan to move there whatsoever. But this is where we get into the hypocrisy. So the Bible-thumping dude, Ryan Walters, just last week, also the January 6th, the guy that hates George Floyd, State Superintendent Ryan Walters in Oklahoma, guess what happened, y'all? Guess what? He was caught. He was caught on his computer during a school board meeting having a naked woman on his screen. Yes, this man during a school meeting, and it was only like 5 to 6 people who were there, had a full frontal nudity on his computer that was projected onto a TV screen. So not sure if he was looking at nudity, but whatever it was, there was a moment in time where he clicked on his screen that was being shared for other people in the meeting to see, where he ended up showing a full nude individual on his laptop during a school board meeting in front of other members to see. Yes, he had full frontal nudity on his computer projected on a TV for everybody to see. This man who called teachers perverted for supporting LGBTQ plus causes was looking at naked pictures while at work. That is a great example, y'all, of letting actions speak louder than words, because people can do all this chirping and they can do all this talking, but at the end of the day, they're hypocrites. They truly are. Now, I'm going to stay in the South, and we're going to move a little further to a different state down there, which is Texas. And, oh, this is a good one, y'all. There's a state representative in Texas that's anti-abortion advocate. He's an anti-abortion advocate, and his name is Giovanni Campriglione. I'm not good at Campriglione. I'm not good at speaking, I think that's Italian. But Giovanni got himself in some trouble last week. Now, Giovanni is an individual who helped author and push something called the trigger law in Texas. Now, what is the trigger law in Texas? Well, the trigger law in Texas makes it a felony to perform an abortion with penalties including potential life imprisonment and a $100,000 fine for performing an abortion. So this man pushed a law down in Texas that would make it so anyone who performs an abortion would be in prison for an entire lifetime and have to pay $100,000 fine for performing an abortion. The law also allows for civil penalties against those who perform or aid an abortion. He is also supportive of a bill which in Texas passed, which is a civil offense to pay for someone to terminate their pregnancy in the state of Texas. I'll repeat that. This representative, state representative from Texas, who is anti-abortion, supported a bill which would make it a civil offense to pay for someone to end their pregnancy, terminate their pregnancy in the state of Texas. So clearly, this representative is pro-life, and he is against abortion, right? Like he is anti-abortion. Well, everyone got a plan, everyone got an idea until they get hit in the mouth. Or what did Mike Tyson say? Everybody got a game plan until they get hit in the mouth. Well, that happened to Mr. Gio. Because at the same time as this representative from Texas is being, talking about being anti-abortion, wanting to put people in prison for life for performing abortions, wanting people to pay a $100,000 fine for performing abortions, wanting people who pay for a woman to get an abortion to be able to be civilly sued, this gentleman was hiding a secret. He was hiding the secret of a 17-year affair with a stripper that he met at a strip club when she was 18 and he was 35 years old with a wife. So yes, this man who wants to pass judgment on other people was having an affair for 17 years with a stripper. At all people, a stripper. And shout out to all the strippers. I love the strippers, as 2 Chainz said. I do love the strippers. I'm just kidding. No, I don't. Soon to be, nah. Too much glitter for me, bro. But to make matters worse, outside of cheating on his wife, this anti-abortion representative is only anti-abortion when it doesn't involve him, because he ended up getting, allegedly, according to this woman, he ended up getting her pregnant multiple times. And guess what he did? Can you guess? Of course, he paid for her to get an abortion several times. He left money underneath a trash can at Chuck E. Cheese. He went to where the kids was to let the woman know, you ain't never going to have a kid from me playing inside of Chuck E. Cheese. Take that money and take care of business. That's how sick this individual is. What is wild is that he knew what he has done in his past, right? He knew he paid for abortions in his past, but still was an advocate of being anti-abortion. Was still a pro-rights advocate after paying for somebody to get abortion. The hypocrisy in this. This is what these politicians do, and it's absolutely trash. Trash. And as Tory Lowe would say. And lastly, the last trash situation I want to share with y'all. Before I get to the point, trust me, there's a point to this show. And lastly, I want to talk about the poorly educated state of Oklahoma again, because there's a U.S. Senator named Mark Wayne, which is his first name is Mark Wayne, not Mark Dash Wayne. His name is Mark Wayne. Mark Wayne. Or maybe it's Mark Wayne. He goes by Mark Wayne, but where I'm from, Mark Wayne Mullins. He's a U.S. Senator from Oklahoma, and he went from release the Epstein files to wait a minute, we got to wait and see. Let me block the release real quick because we can't rush to judgment, to all of a sudden pushing lies about who gave Epstein a lenient sentencing his first time back in 2008. Now, Mark Wayne took that false rhetoric over to CNN earlier this week, and he just straight up lied and embarrassed himself. Go to 1017 The Truth on YouTube. That is 1017 The Truth on YouTube as we play the CNN story or interview between Mark Wayne Mullins, the United States Senator Trump lover from Oklahoma, on with Jake Tapper, and as he talks about the Epstein files and he talks about who was in position and who was in power when they let Epstein off the hook back in 2008. Again, go to 1017 The Truth on YouTube or turn your stereo up on the FM dial as we play this audio for you.
And tell me why for months she was saying that she's going to release the information tomorrow.
We made the assumption that the judge would release the order and allow the evidence that they had that it could be heard. But it's all been sealed. And so if it's been a sealed case, we can't release it until the judges allow us to release it. And you would think common sense would play. That's why they asked for transparency. We want transparency. We want the judges to have transparency in this too. But remember, there was a plea deal that was struck in 2009, way before I was in office, way before Trump was even considering to be in office, way before Pam Bondi was in office, way before Kash Patel was director. 2009, there was a sweetheart plea deal that was made underneath the Obama administration with Epstein.
Right. That's not
and that sweetheart has not been exposed.
No, it was 2000.
Not? Well, when was the case heard?
It was 2008. It was the U.S. attorney at the time was a guy named Alex Acosta. He was a Bush appointee. He went on to become President Trump's Secretary of Labor. It all took place in 2008.
Who was in office at the time?
2008, George W. Bush.
Who was in office at the time?
George W. Bush.
No, 2009 is when the case came out, and it was and Obama was in office at the time.
It's not true.
The sweetheart deal. And you know what? I can't blame Mark Wayne because guess what? Mark Wayne is from Oklahoma. And in Oklahoma, they can't read, they can't write, they can't do math, but they're going to have Bibles inside the classroom, and hopefully they can pray on how to read because they can't read the Bible. This man went on national TV talking about a sweetheart deal that was made in 2008. He lived through that. Now, I'm going to test you here, Rhea. We didn't do this. Rhea, do you recall, if you were listening, do you recall who the president was in 2008?
Obama.
Oh, shoot. No, Obama got elected in 2008.
Oh, like George Bush.
George Bush. That's the whole point. That's the educational system. The education system's trash. But my whole point is this, is even when he was corrected, I corrected Rhea, and Rhea said, oh, Obama. No, I mean Bush. That's right, Bush. But the whole point is this man made this stuff up, or maybe he didn't and he thought it was that, and when he was corrected, he still did not accept it. Because these folks are more interested in lying and pushing a narrative versus being open and honest. So remember, y'all, actions speak louder than words. And some of y'all may be saying, okay, Kyle, I hear all these examples. This is crazy. I get it. But this is all outside of Wisconsin. And yes, you are right. These are all examples outside of Wisconsin. And I think we should all be well informed on everything that is happening. But that leads me to the local example that I want to share and I want to talk about next, and really focus and look at the dichotomy between a white man doing something illegal in Wisconsin versus a black woman doing something illegal in Wisconsin from a political position. 833-212-1017. I got a question for you, Truth Nation. If America had to choose between saving a black woman versus saving a black man's life, who would they choose? Do you all think a black woman is treated fairly in America? Well, in 3 minutes, 833-212-1017. You can chime in on the Truth Talking text on answer those questions. But in 3 minutes, I will tell you why black lives do not matter in the state of Wisconsin, and that Peepin Bob Donovan is at it again. This is Truth to Power with Kyle Wallace. I'm going to show you the difference between being a black woman politician here in America, here in Wisconsin, versus being a white Peepin' Tom politician right here in Milwaukee. 833-212-1017. In 3 minutes, we'll be back.
Truth to Power with Kyle Wallace returns after this on 1017 The Truth app, and streaming live on 1017 The Truth on YouTube.
Every step lights the way to brighter futures. Join us for the 41st annual UNCF Milwaukee Walk/Run for Education on Saturday, August 2nd at Veterans Park. Meet our 2025 Grand Marshals and Torchbearers as we light the path for Milwaukee students to achieve their college dreams. Start a team, bring your family, and help us raise funds that change lives. Awards, food, and fun await. Register today at mkeuncf.info. Light the way. Walk for education.
This is your Versity Blood Center of Wisconsin Community Impact Moment on 1017 The Truth.
I want you to really stress the importance of having an ethnically diverse blood supply. But I guess, what do you say to people that, for whatever reason, are apprehensive about giving blood?
It's not by accident that we are building this fixed donation site right in the heart of this Halyard Park, Harambe neighborhood. And to your point, our black and brown donors probably represents the smallest demographic in our donor base. That's attributed to multiple reasons. For those of us that understand the history, there is a lot of underlying mistrust of the healthcare system. And quite frankly, there's already challenges with how busy people are, how accessible they are to even know where to go to donate blood. And let's face it, a lot of folks are scared of needles, right? But when they get through all of that, the importance, I think, is a heavier burden on our black and brown communities, because there are a lot of different blood diseases that require what I'll call more of a match in blood that only comes from people of similar ethnicities. Something that's specific to our black donors and patients is something that I think your listeners are very familiar with: sickle cell disease. The only therapy that get them through their day-to-day life is blood transfusions. And it's not just what I'll call average or normal blood type or blood transfusion. It's actually a specific blood with a specific type called RO blood. And this RO blood typically only comes from people of African descent and Hispanic descent. And so that's why it's so important that our donor base is diverse, so that it helps our ethnically diverse patient population.
To make an impact by donating blood in your community, visit versity.org today.
This Associated Bank Sports Update on 1017 The Truth is powered by ESPN Milwaukee. I'm Brandon Snide. Thanks to Andrew Vaughn and Milwaukee Brewers beating the Chicago Cubs in Game 2 of their 3-game series. This one by a final score of 9-3.
Breaking ball. Hit high. Hit deep. Left center. Bye-bye baseball.
Vaughn with the grand slam helps power the Brewers to their 64th win of the year. Now have a 2-game lead on the Cubs. Game 3 is scheduled for this afternoon over at American Family Field. And lastly, we'll head over to the NFL as training camp has rolled on for the Packers up in Green Bay. Earlier this week, head coach Matt LaFleur speaking on the growth of his quarterback, Jordan Love.
Yeah, I think Jordan's really shown a ton of growth, and that's an area that we talked about in the offseason is just he's always had great ownership of what we're trying to get done out there. He understands why we're calling what we're calling.
A day off for the Packers at practice. They'll resume things tomorrow afternoon. This sports update brought to you by Associated Bank, proudly supporting your hometown teams. Member FDIC.
It is Truth to Power on 1017 The Truth app, and streaming live on 1017 The Truth on YouTube.
It is Truth to Power here on the award-winning 1017 The Truth. I am your host of Truth to Power, Kyle Wallace, and I'm coming to you live from the American Family Insurance from La Casa de Wallace. I don't know if I said that right, but, you know, got a D in Spanish back in the day. Well, C minus, then a D plus. So my Spanish is that's the quality that you're going to get. But on the other side, we talked about the fact that there is a hypocrisy. There is a hypocrisy in politics that we see from politicians far too often. And I gave examples of some of the hypocrisy that you see from individuals that are in power. But those were on the national stage. One of them was a dude that was looking at naked photos during a meeting. Meanwhile, he's anti-LGBTQ, anti-George Floyd. He wants to put Trump Bibles inside of schools, even though the kids are the 50th ranked in the nation in education. They can't read, they can't write, but he wants them to read the Trump Bible. Okay? Or you have politicians that are anti-abortion and make it so if you pay for an abortion, you're supposed to have to pay a civil fine, but then goes and pays for an abortion and pushes for anti-abortion laws. It doesn't make sense. Or it can be Mark Wayne, who just lies on TV. But see, locally, we have our own guy who has a history of lying and being deceitful. This individual's name is Bob Donovan, and Sherwin Hughes calls him Peepin Bob Donovan, and he calls him Peepin Bob Donovan for a reason, because he paid a ticket for peeping under a stall at UWM. So I said, I guess he is. You're right, Sherwin. He is Peepin Donovan, and he is back in the news for potential ethics violation as a politician. Now, Bob Donovan, if you do not know him, was a former candidate for Milwaukee mayor. He ran against Cavalier Johnson back in, I want to say, 2021 to fill the role for mayor to finish out the term of Tom Barrett. Now, in addition to that, Bob Donovan also served as an alderman on the south side of Milwaukee. And then also, Bob Donovan went and he ran for the state assembly, and he won. Now, recently what happened is new districts were carved out in the state of Wisconsin, and new maps were carved out, and his district was carved out of the map, so he had to pick between where he was going to run, and he decided he was going to run in what is now the 61st Assembly District. Now, Peepin Bob Donovan has every right to do that, and he decided that he was going to not up and move into the new district, but instead he decided he was going to rent an apartment in the new district, where he had a better chance of winning and keeping a seat inside the assembly. And again, he has every right to do that. Election laws do not ban people from getting an apartment in a district and running in that district, but do know if you win that seat, you have to live in that district. And Bob Donovan indeed did win that seat, so he had to live in that district. Now, what is interesting about this, though, is the fact that Bob Donovan still owned his house in Greenfield in his old district where his wife lived and currently lives, while also having an apartment in his new district. Now, if he got it like that, cool. If you got buku bucks where you can pay rent, $850 in rent in one place and then still pay your mortgage, more power to you as an elected official. More power to you, Mr. Peepin Bob Donovan. But a month after his victory, the Republican lawmaker began paying himself. He began paying himself $850 a month from his campaign account, and he labeled it for staff lounging at his house. So, in all, Bob Donovan paid himself $5,950 over a 7-month span after election, according to his campaign reports. Now, that sounds fishy to me. I don't know about y'all, but that sounds fishy to me. Is that the man had a rent of $850 a month that he had to pay for the new place that he got, and it was labeled as staff lounging, and he paid for that through his campaign. Something doesn't add up. He has a house in Greenville. He has another house that he rents, a place that he rents in order to run for his seat. And he was paying himself to pay rent. If y'all don't know this, if that is true, that would be illegal. Here in Wisconsin, that would be a violation of Wisconsin campaign finance law, and he could face a lot of legal ramifications if he is indeed found guilty. Now, when Peepin Bob Donovan was asked about this, he refused to comment on using campaign money for rent, but something did happen after he was questioned about it. Because remember, a lot of people like to do things behind closed doors. A lot of people aren't, transparent. And after Bob Donovan was asked about this, all of a sudden, guess what happened? The money that he had paid himself, the $850 a month, all of a sudden got reimbursed to his campaign account. Isn't that interesting? He was doing something behind closed doors, and as soon as somebody brought it up to him, all of a sudden there was a lump sum payment of $5,100 that went into his campaign account. I wonder why he did that. I'm not going to make any accusations because I don't know the situations. And this is all, that is true, but I don't know what it is. I'm not saying it's campaign finance law that he's breaking. I'm saying something ain't right, something fishy, and they should look into it. Now, why I wanted to talk about this and bring this up is because I fully expect for people to investigate this, and I fully expect the same wrath, the same fury, and the same public embarrassment that two black sisters in Chantia Lewis, who was an alderman on the northwest side of Milwaukee, and Aisha Carr, who used to be on the Milwaukee Public School Board, the same embarrassment, the same wrath, the same public attention and fury that they got. Because we talked about Chantia Lewis years ago. We talked about her a lot. Aisha Carr, she got her court date coming up. Y'all talked about Aisha Carr. They talked about her a lot. Those two ladies indeed broke ethical laws, allegedly. Aisha Carr, allegedly. Chantia Lewis, she admitted to it. But they broke ethical laws and were threatened with potential jail time. Chantia Lewis was threatened to facing up to 3 years in jail. I think she ended up having to serve 30 days in jail for her transgressions. And Aisha Carr right now is being dragged through the mud and having to go to court. Now, these two sisters, now listen. What they allegedly did with Aisha Carr and what Chantia Lewis did was they made mistakes. But one thing I want to say right now is that we better not let Peepin Bob Donovan off the hook if he did have an ethics violation, because he has a history of having some questionable behavior. And all I'm saying is today I'm talking about hypocrisy, and I want to make sure that we are making sure that we're holding Bob Donovan to the same standard and to the same level of accountability, crucified for mistakes that many white politicians do as well, but they get the benefit of the doubt. I didn't see it plastered up on the news everywhere about Bob Donovan potentially having a campaign finance law violation. I didn't see it on the news. But we saw Aisha Carr everywhere. You can Google Aisha Carr and guess what's going to pop up? Her transgressions. Google Chantia Lewis, see what's going to come up. All her transgressions. Google Bob Donovan. You may see a couple articles about this, but you won't see a news story. And you'll see about his 1992 ticket from UWM campus when he was peeping under stalls in the boys' bathroom. Men's bathroom, let me be correct. It was the men's bathroom at UWM's campus that he paid the ticket for. And so what upsets me about this situation is that these black women, again, were dragged through the mud. Meanwhile, the white politicians get to keep their pride. They get to keep running for office. And I, for one, will not stand for it, and I'm here to air out Bob Donovan and make sure everybody knows that Peepin Bob Donovan may have broken campaign finance laws, and I feel like we should know this. Because what we should expect, Truth Nation, is we should hear about this in the news. Because, again, I go back to ask the question, do black women get a fair shake in politics? Do black women get treated fairly in politics? Do black women get treated fairly when it comes to public opinion? Because when I look at a situation where Peepin Bob Donovan, who was accused of peeping under a bathroom stall and paid the ticket for it, can still get elected, but Aisha Carr, who was accused of living in the wrong district, because basically she was accused of saying she lived in a district for the school board, that she never lived at the house. and they did a full-blown investigation on Aisha Carr. Aisha Carr was spied on, and that's how they got all the information to know. And her family member said she didn't live there, too. I mean, you got to tell your family. But she had all this energy put towards us, and she was pressured to resign from the school board. And now she has some other things come up as well. But now her life is basically ruined for the moment, not forever. Because I think she will bounce back. When it comes to Chantia Lewis had to get prosecuted. They claim by not sending Chantia Lewis to jail. If they did not send her to jail, it would send a message to other politicians that it was open season for politicians to embezzle money. That's what the claim was. I agree Lewis made a bad mistake and did something wrong. In all honesty, she was wrong in what she did. And I know she ended up, I think she paid the money back, but you got to be more informed when you make decisions. It might have been a mistake, but you got to be informed. You're a public official, and you need to make sure you're making the right moves. You got to have a good team around you. But I will say I believe her race played a role in the fact that she was being attacked publicly. 833-212-1017. We're talking about the fact that Bob Donovan, who is a politician here in the area, is accused of allegedly using his campaign funds to pay his rent, which would be illegal, and I have not heard enough outrage about this. But meanwhile, when I think about the black women that got dragged through the mud like Aisha Carr, like Chantia Lewis, I want him to get dragged just like they did. Look into it. 833-212-1017. Brian in Milwaukee, what is your thought on the hypocrisy of politicians?
Hey, I just want to give you kudos, man. That was a great investigation you did, and the way you put it, I normally criticize you for being too wordy, but we needed those words. And no, black female politicians don't get treated right in this city. Aisha Carr never should have been excoriated like she was excoriated. The woman did a lot of good things for us as far as informing us. I just wanted to give you kudos for your investigation, man.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And my thing with Aisha Carr, the thing that hurt me the most with Aisha is that it was also avoidable, allegedly, what she's alleged done, because she was a voice for change. And when I look at the school system and where we are at, we needed her voice for change. Now, I may not have agreed with all the ideas that she had, but I agreed with the fact that she had this fire, this desire, this want to make a better opportunity for our kids. She went against the grain. And she is a lesson of when you go against the grain, they will find a way to take you out. You have to be squeaky clean if you are going to go up against a machine, and she was not squeaky clean, allegedly. Again, I don't know what the outcome going to be. It don't look great. But you got to be squeaky clean. But even when you got to be squeaky clean, the problem I have is a dude like Bob Donovan, who has a history of of questionable judgment, is the fact that I don't see enough outrage towards Bob Donovan. I want to see him on the news. I want to see people talking about it. I want to see all the news stories talking about how an elected official was carved out of his seat. And instead of saying, okay, well, I'm going to run in the district that I actually live in, he decided that he was going to rent out another place. He decided to make that investment. Fine, do that. He won the race. And after he won the race, he decided he was going to use funds that were donated to his campaign, allegedly. He decided he was going to use these funds to pay for his housing. And when he got called out for it, he did not respond to the request, but he ended up paying that money back. Where is the Milwaukee County DA? Where are the state ethic lawyers? Somebody needs to come and investigate this and make sure that he faces the same legal ramifications, the same public, I wouldn't say lashing because that's probably too far, but the same public scrutiny that Chantia Lewis and that Aisha Carr faced. And when I think about the past election, right, and I think about just overall, when it comes to black women, because I don't think black women get treated when it comes to politics. I feel like they're held to an extremely high standard. And I look at people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who can go and do crazy stuff. I look like Lauren Boebert, who is a representative from Colorado, who got caught in a movie theater as a grown woman with her hand in a popcorn cup next to a man. And I'll let y'all figure out what she was doing. Caught publicly doing something like that, and still get elected, and still have the ability to open up their mouth and run their mouth. But then when you see people and black women like a Jasmine Crockett, who is extremely intelligent, having the president saying she got a low IQ, having these folks saying she got a low IQ and a loud mouth. You got people like Maxine Waters, who's fighting for the people, them making fun of her and calling her out. And y'all know the way they treated Kamala Harris during the election last year. Some folks said she wasn't even black. They try to discredit and tear down black women of power. They make fun of Michelle Obama. Some people even say Michelle Obama's a man. The disrespect. She pumped out 2 kids. And they still find a way to disrespect our black women. They still find a way to treat them unfairly when it comes to politics. So ain't no way we looking the other way with this one. We calling out Peepin Bob Donovan. Ain't the word. But my opinion is, do black women get treated fairly in politics? I want to hear from you. 833-212-1017. But in addition to that as well, Truth Nation, we're only a couple days away.
One call, that's all.
One call, that's all is right now is one of your last chances to be entered to win the $5,000 Gruber Cash giveaway on the award-winning 1017 The Truth. Be caller number 5 right now. Got to be quick on the fingers. Caller number 5 right now at 833-212-1017 for your chance to be entered to win $5,000 courtesy of Gruber Law Offices. Again, that's caller number 5 today to be entered to win the $5,000 giveaway courtesy of Gruber Law Offices in 1017 The Truth. We will be giving away the $5,000 this Friday on Truth to Power with yours truly, Kyle Wallace. I'll also be joined by Bailey Coleman as we will give away $5,000 to one lucky caller. Be caller number 5 at 833-212-1017.
You are listening to Truth to Power with Kyle Wallace on 1017 The Truth and The Truth app. Catch Truth to Power every weekday from noon to 1 p.m. Coming with straight truth.
Be careful of the decisions that you make and the company that you keep, because that is going to determine a certain consequence. So you don't have to wait to go to prison, or you don't have to wait to figure it out what the consequences may be. All you got to do is look at your decision making and who you allow in your space. If they making wild decisions, wild things gonna happen. But you don't get to choose what wild things are gonna happen.
Catch the Tory Lowe Show every weekday from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m.
Black Arts Fest MKE is back Saturday, August 2nd on the Summerfest grounds from noon to 10 p.m. Celebrate Black culture with R&B legends Carl Thomas, Kevin Ross, and Star Red with a Corvette car showcase, Buffalo Soldier horse rides, and a full food truck village, along with the return of the dynamic Divine 9-Day Party. General admission is only $30. Kids 7 and under are free. And if you're one of the first 100 guests to sign the Peace Pledge between 12 and 1 p.m., you get in free too. Courtesy of New Pitts Mortuary. See you at Black Arts Fest MKE.
This summer, make 3rd Street Market Hall your one-stop, must-stop destination to eat, drink, and play. 3rd Street Market Hall has over 15 locally owned food vendors, a self-serve beer wall featuring 30 Wisconsin breweries, over 50 HD TVs, and happy hour specials all week. The perfect place to work remotely or catch a game between meetings or over lunch, 3rd Street Market Hall is your home away from home or office. Visit 3rdstreetmarkethall.com for menus, events, and more information.
I've got to share that I am also a beneficiary of the Old National Bank Empowerment Loan Program. So, Tracy, with that being said, what is the Empowerment Loan Program?
Great. Well, the Empowerment Loan Program is a special purpose loan program that we launched 2 years ago. It has been a success. It was something, again, near and dear to the heart of not only our chairman and CEO, but just our organization as a whole. We work with contractors, consulting firms, retail food operations, daycares. In fact, so far, we've approved $50 million of loans closed 2 minority and women-owned businesses within a 2-year period.
And for those that are now leaning more into this conversation, what's the best way to get in contact with you as part of their interest in the Empowerment Loan Program?
I'm going to give you my cell phone number to the listeners. It's 414-687-7393. And if that doesn't work, feel free to reach me at my email, tracy.meeks@oldnational.com.
Tracy Meeks, Senior Vice President, Community Lending Market Executive from Old National Bank.
You are listening to Truth to Power on 1017 The Truth app, and streaming live on 1017 The Truth on YouTube.
One, two, three, ho!
It is Truth to Power here on the award-winning 1017 The Truth. Remember Friday. This Friday will be your opportunity to be the one call that saw $5,000 giveaway. You can have one last summer vacation with that $5K, or you can invest it in the stock market. I love investing. But today on the show of Truth to Power, I talked about hypocrisy, and I just want to call out how there's so much hypocrisy in politics, and how I feel like as African-American politicians are held to so many different standards and higher standards than their white counterparts. And I specifically talked about things that happen in different states, but I wanted to bring it here locally to Peepin Bob Donovan, which is a name a lot of us should know, and Bob Donovan being a former alderman here in Milwaukee. And Bob Donovan is allegedly potentially had, violated Wisconsin campaign finance law. And again, I'm not sure if they're going to look into it, but I believe they should look into it because of the fact that Bob Donovan was utilizing campaign money to pay for a staffer, but the staffers that he had already had listed addresses at a different place than when he was actually paying for it. Shows that there was something funny going on. And again, based off my assumption, I do not know. I do believe that Bob Donovan was using money from campaign funds. I believe it. I don't know it to be true, but based off some of the facts we see, I do believe that he was using campaign money to pay for his housing, which would be illegal, and I hope somebody looks into it, and I hope they look at it, and I hope he gets prosecuted to the full extent of the law. Because again, Aisha Carr and Chantia Lewis, they got the full wrath and fury from everybody, and the court system went as far as to saying that they wanted to make an example out of Chantia Lewis, and that they wanted to send a message to every other politician that they would not allow for anybody to embezzle money. So I expect to see the same thing with Bob Donovan. If he indeed did embezzle some type of money, I expect to see that with him as well. But this has been Truth to Power on the award-winning 1017 The Truth. The Tory Lowe Show is up next. Peace out. I will see y'all tomorrow. Thank you, Truth Nation.